Hello, broads.
Hi, broads. How are you doing? We missed you on Thursday. We only had the one. Not that I actually see you, but
Yeah, and we're also recording this like a week and a half before, so
it's true. So
we're being so fake right now.
we're so sorry that we are not transparent and honest with you. We are recording this like 2 weeks beforehand. But just so you know, we have the episode today, which is Tuesday. And then this week, we also have a Thursday episode.
Yes.
And then the following week is the week of Christmas. And that week...
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. There's only going to be one episode that week because, you know, we're enjoying the fam. And then the following week, we only have one as well, but we have our special Judging of Pete's Women episode.
Yes, we are going to be going over every contestant listed on the roster and roasting them all.
And we do have a special guest who we're not going to say yet, but I'm excited.
It's, spoiler, it's Pilot Pete.
It's Pilot
Roasting
Pete.
his own women for a
It's
season.
the home wrecker.
Oh, shit, that would be good.
Can you imagine?
I should already start reaching out to be like,
the
come
tea.
on.
So yeah.
So, yeah, a little confusing, but last week we had one, this week we have two, next week we have one, week after that we have one, and then bada bing, bada boom, into Bachelor season we go, 2 episodes a week, boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm
Yeah.
super excited. Also, I'm going to do my best to make sure that I remind all you broads on our Instagram. If you don't follow it, follow it. It's at Chatty Broads. And remind you all of like our episode schedule the next couple weeks.
I know
since
you'll
it's
be refreshing your
confusing.
podcast app over and over again, looking for our second episode, so we'll save you the time.
We don't want the broken hearts. But anyways,
Jess, how's your Christmas shopping going? Oh, also, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube, our new YouTube channel, Chatty Broads.
yes.
That's where all the videos are going to be going up.
My Christmas shopping, not very well.
I always do everything pretty much on Christmas Eve. I'm that kind of girl.
Actually, on Christmas Eve,
Yep, 100%.
girl.
I probably won't be doing that now with Ruth.
Bless.
But
I did that one year and I cried the entire time.
I do it by myself, and I find it kind of fun. Like, I'm just
Really?
like, let's go. I'm in like Mission Impossible mode. But here's the thing too. I don't overtax myself. I only buy shit for like partner, well now Ruth, mom, dad, siblings,
Okay.
maybe a grandparent or two if I'm feeling charitable.
If you're feeling jealous.
But nobody else is getting shit. I mean, come on. I don't know what to get
Girlfriend,
anybody else.
Both mine and Evan's family, straight up, are like, everyone has to get presents.
No. Like, you're
And-
expected to get like cousins and all that shit presents.
Everyone.
No, that's bullshit.
I literally, last year, I sat down with everyone. I'm like, I have to be
No,
real
that's
with you
bullshit.
all. The amount of money we're all spending, I can't do this.
And
I
not to mention, you don't know what the fuck they want. So you're
No.
just getting crap that people don't want.
and half of the people ask me to return it for them. I'm like, I'm not returning
I'm
this
sorry.
for you.
We have bigger familial issues.
And on top of that, last year, I was sitting by the Christmas tree with our family, and the amount of gifts and the amount of wrapping paper was giving me insane anxiety.
Well, that's bullshit. But, and also, if you guys are going to do it that way, you should campaign for Secret Santa. That way everyone just gets a specific person in the extended family.
I've been trying.
What is wrong with these people?
Girl,
I don't know.
Phone them in. Phone them in.
Anyway, in the spirit of buying a bunch of shit we don't need
Yes.
and all of that,
Yes.
today we have on my internet friend, actually, who I just met in person today, my friend Sierra.
Hi.
Round of
Hi.
applause.
Thank you.
She is hearkening from, is that a word?
Yes.
Hearkening from New York, and has a shop there. And through her Instagram and example, I have been inspired by her everyday strides to live a more environmentally friendly, sustainable lifestyle. And yes, I'd love to chat about that today with her.
Thank you.
Gosh, I'm so excited. I didn't know this was the first time you guys were actually meeting in person.
Yes, we've
Yeah.
tried a few times
Yeah.
to no avail.
I know. I always went to New York, and then I was like, on the other side.
Yeah, and the last time I had the trade show the exact days you were there.
Yes, I think, and I was in Brooklyn, I
yeah.
think.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is beautiful.
Yes. So we talked on the phone, and actually last year we did a little campaign together, and Sierra put in so much work to create special totes that we sold. 100% of the profits benefited Black Mamas Matter. which
I don't remember how much we raised from that, but
it was
a chunk, like 5,000,
somewhere around
something
there.
like that. Yeah, it was a chunk right before Christmas. So
It
that
went
was not
pretty
fun.
well. Yeah,
That's
in the midst of
amazing.
all of your craziness, and we benefited Black Mamas Matter specifically, who does all sorts of work benefiting Black mamas on the East Coast, because when I was pregnant, I learned that the infant mortality rates of Black babies are 3 to 4 times that of white women, and it's just, there's so much more that I could say on that. But anyway, so that's kind of how we got connected. And before that, even, I think you were sending me goodies through Instagram, and she's always had the best stuff. So anyway,
Sierra came rolling in with goodie bags for us, and I'm like,
Yes,
we're
do
best
that. We got-
friends now.
we got swag bags, by
I
the
do
way.
that
bags.
everywhere I go. It's kind of a way of like converting people to like use more sustainable things.
I
Yes.
mean, God bless.
By the way, shop name is Lovewild Design.
Thank you.
So, which you can
yes.
continue to plug throughout the whole episode.
Please, and we'll be including that in all the episode notes.
But yeah, why don't you give a little bio of
Show you
You.
like of how I started.
yeah, but also just you
Okay.
in general.
So I grew up in the East Village, and my parents were antique dealers. I come from like a long line of entrepreneurs, so it just kind of like seemed like the route I would take. Like my grandmother was an entrepreneur in Mexico City in like the 50s and 60s, and her parents were, and so it just was like there's like no other way, no 9 to 5 was gonna work. And then I was working in the public sector, like the mission of Malawi, and I wanted to sort of do sustainable development in like on a public platform. But I was really turned off by the bureaucratic process of like how everything just takes forever. And then even simple things like within the office, it's unsustainable in terms of like office products and money. Like I'd be working with top people who would want a first class ticket to somewhere in Africa to like celebrate 10,000 they raised, but their first class ticket was 8,000. So I'm like,
God.
So
gosh.
I was getting married to my husband and did all the little details to our wedding. And I had gone back to school to Columbia to study sustainable development, but had like crippling anxiety from school anxiety. And like it cost a ton of money to go to
Do
Columbia.
they have that specific program, sustainable development?
Yeah,
wow,
they do.
that's really cool.
But it can also, that program can be like financially sustainable development, or like, you know, it can be
Got it.
like in a lot of different sectors. And so I did all of our wedding details, and people were like, oh, this is what you should do. And I'm in the like dealing with severe anxiety, and then people telling me there was like this other route I could take, and seeing my friends going to like art school, something clicked of like, oh, I could make this a business. So I started with wedding invitations and just making a few products and popping up in markets around the city. And then people liked my products, and I didn't like working with brides. So I sort of pivoted and just started doing products. And we do letterpress printing, baby goods, bath, home goods. And then sort of just like took off. And then now
How long ago was that?
that was like May 2014.
Okay.
And then now my mom works with me full time. We have employees. We have a store. We're in like, I don't know, several hundred stores in the US and big places too. And it just kind of like was a natural process. But then like once I was there, I was like, oh, duh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then also that I can make, it might be a smaller mark I make, but sustainably I can like control more of what I do.
Yeah, the choices you make.
Yeah, how my business is how my business contributes to waste, and hopefully help people find more sustainable alternatives as well.
Were you always sort of like sustainably minded? Where did you sort of get this interest in like to even go back to school and all that sort of thing?
So for going back to school, that was just like my husband encouraging me. So I was like, okay, whatever. He really loves school. I do not. And I sort of like,
you got to do this too.
he just like loves the school experience. And I sort of thought like, oh, maybe I would. And then I was like, no, I still hate it. It's not for me. And then, I have, I'm an HSP, which is a hypersensitive person.
Okay.
So I give lots of feelings to inanimate objects. So I feel like that kind of correlates to my like need to be sustainable, because it's just like more trash. And then I think about it. And then if you give all the trash like personalities, it sounds crazy, but like it's like
everything's discarded.
It's a never ending cycle of like that you think of all the time. So my neuroses probably is what really led to that. But yeah, just like, you know, if you read into it, you can't forget it.
Yeah.
Really.
I still feel that way, by the way, about like stuffed animals and stuff. Like when I go to the thrift store and I see all of them and I'm like, are all of these going to end up in landfills? Like what's happening? Oh my God. And so I start freaking out and I'm like, but for some reason still animating them. I think it's watching Toy Story too many times because I'm like, all of these, oh my
They're
God.
too adorable.
They used to belong to children and now they're just all alone. But multiply that by like every single inanimate object. That's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. No, I totally do. Like, yeah, I can't throw out like a potato. I have to eat it or throw out two. So it's not alone. But yeah, that speaks to childhood trauma. But yeah.
Wait, so did you grow up in a home that was sustainably minded? Were your parents?
It's funny. So we had all antique everything. So technically, yes, it was sustainable.
Right.
Even though that wasn't maybe the goal.
But it wasn't really, you know, maybe that was, my mom was into like all organic food and, you know, we only shopped at the health food store when we didn't have money to even. So I guess that maybe she did prioritize that a bit. But there just wasn't the, you know, weight that plastics have now. Right. So we were sustainable, I guess, without really realizing it. And we did have a compost and stuff, which I don't know how many people did then.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually my boyfriend's parents, they lived in the East Village for like
no way,
quite a few years, like following college. And then they decided to have a family and then moved away. But she was talking about, Gray's mom was telling me about how when Grayson was little, people had just kind of really started making the switch to disposable diapers and how she started getting freaked out. And she was like, wait, if everyone's starting to use disposable diapers, like this doesn't seem good. And so it's just interesting because I think people thought differently about convenience maybe like 30 or 40 or 50 years ago than they do now, because now we take like convenient everything for granted. And that's like the motto of how we shop and all of that. But I think that maybe people had a little more connection to, you know, decades ago of what actually happens when we throw things away. And now it's like, I think it's unconscious a lot of the time for us now.
Yeah, totally. Also, there's no way. Like, you're throwing it, it's going somewhere. It's just not in your line of sight. And that was easy to ignore when we just started doing that, however, like 50 years ago. But now it's like, can't be ignored, or hopefully not.
Well, let's get into that in a second.
Yes, before we dive more in, and I'm so excited because this is really something that I don't know a lot about, so I'm excited to be educated on this. But before we dive deeper, let's talk about, and we're going to be talking about sustainability, let's talk about something I have been wanting to try to sustain lately, and that's eating more greens. I have no problem eating browns, bread, pasta, chocolate, cookies, pie, chips. I will forever eat those beloved brown things. They are my queens, but I really, really have wanted to make an effort to get green foods in my body that are full of nutrients and give me the vitamins my insides need to thrive. And I want my daughter to know that eating those greens is fun too. And the app that's been helping me to do that is Noom. Noom is a habit-changing solution app that truly makes sure you're doing what you want to do, simply your personal goal, and that's it. They push nothing on you and encourage self-love and worth and care and consistently ask how you feel most encouraged. There's no pressure. Simply ask what you want, what you need, and they just ask why you are truly doing this and how you feel most loved and supported. As I said, my purpose for using Noom has been to help remind me to eat more greens, and my personal Noom goal specialist has helped me do just that. And before we even started together, the people at Noom really make sure that you're motivated the way that you prefer. I like a gentle nudge and love, and so my goal specialist does just that. And Noom has been really helpful for me and numerous of both of our family members. They all comment on how they feel seen and encouraged through it.
You don't have to make changes all in one day because small steps make big progress. You can sign up for your trial today at Noom, Noom.com/chatty. Visit Noom.com/chatty. Start your trial today. That's NOOM.com/chatty. Moon backwards.
Moon backwards. It's our favorite.
So I know you're not an expert when it comes to, I mean, you're not an environmental expert, or maybe you are.
No, I mean, I don't want to use that title because I'm not, and also that's like makes it super vulnerable. But I definitely am well read and know about the things that affect my family and my business when it comes to sustainability. So
do you, and if you don't, this is totally fine. Do you know like when historically like a lot of changes started shifting in terms of like single-use plastics and like all that sort of thing, when people started, when things started changing and things became more disposable just in general?
I don't know a ton historically. I know a little bit that like, first medically it was great, like to be able to have like disposable IVs and stuff like that. And that's huge.
Yeah.
And like that still of course makes sense. But I think it was kind of in the 70s we went from more paper goods. Like I'm just even thinking fast food. It was like really papery. And then advancements came with like sort of a waxed paper. And then we went from there. And it's funny because there's this sort of duality of like seeing single-use plastics as like sort of a privilege. I feel like in a lot of countries, like when I visit Southeast Asia, it's kind of like, a luxury to like be able to have all the stuff you throw out. And then now in the US, we sort of went through that, and now it's coming back to like it's more of a privilege to have my nice little coffee cup to bring and reuse.
Yes.
Right.
So it's
my
sort of
hydro
shifting.
Yes.
It's shifting, and I hope that maybe other countries it shifts a little sooner. Because those other countries, like I went to recently to Myanmar, formerly Burma, and some of the little old ladies still have like amazing ways to wrap like little treats in leaves and things like that. And they just do it because it's like cheap and accessible. But then there's definitely like the majority of the street vendors are using like plastic bags and stuff. And it makes sense. It's hard to say like, no, you need to be like offering this other stuff when it's like their whole job like relies on what is cheap and fast and easy. So,
and I imagine a lot of those shifts started, originally going back to like the Industrial Revolution. We're talking about like late 1800s, early 1900s, but also just, I know the convenience with food shifted, kind of like you're talking about with fast food in like the 40s and 50s, and like commercial canned goods started getting really big in the 40s, and like, TV dinners and all that stuff was like, oh my gosh. And everyone kind of became obsessed with this stuff. Yeah. And I think that sort of kicked off this era of like convenience. And of course it's just
convenience over everything. Yeah. Even if the convenience is like 5 seconds.
Yeah. And at the same time, I can understand how it must have felt really liberating too. If you're looking at like the average American housewife and the pressure to like create home cooked meals and to spend, days doing laundry and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I have so much freedom now to be able to like just generate food and like, not have to wash diapers and all this kind of stuff.
That's I was going to say, at one point when nothing was convenient, then it was like, oh, what's something that's convenient and easy? That sounds great. And now all of a sudden everything is convenient.
Sure. Yeah. But that also like it speaks to like our shift in roles. Like there are less sort of that traditional stay-at-home mom making everything because like the economy is different and things like that. So it's like sort of a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah. Totally. Because I remember my great grandma had to like, make everyone's clothes. And if clothes were ripping or you would mend them, and then it's all this very like time consuming process that sort of would take over a mother's life. But so I can imagine then when the feminist revolution, all this stuff happened, it was like a big shift for women, but also a really big shift for the environment too.
Right.
And it is ironic what you were saying about sort of the spin around with luxury and convenience, because I even think, going a little bit off topic here, but like Waldorf and Montessori education, which is super like back to simplistic, a simplistic childhood. And that is mostly for very people in very privileged positions with a lot of money and generally white. And it's really interesting because, technology used to be like the really big luxury, which it still is. But if we're looking in the US at like the education system, it's like lower income schools and stuff are like very computer it's just interesting how now like the simplistic back to basics lifestyle has become for the wealthy.
Yeah, I've looked into Montessori schools in New York and I cannot afford that.
Oh yeah.
And Waldorf, it's insane.
It's crazy when we were looking at schools out here. for like daycare for Ember, I was noticing that too, where I'm like, the more electronics that are in the classroom, the cheaper the school is. And the ones with all the wood toys are so expensive. Like, this is so confusing to me.
It's so backwards. I know. I remember my nanny kids were in this camp where I was looking around when I picked them up, and I'm like, these kids are literally just playing in the backyard all day with like sticks. Yeah. And this camp is like $2,000 a week or something insane like that for this day camp where they're basically just running around barefoot in this lady's backyard. And I'm like, wow, this is luxury now. It's interesting. Anyway, I digress. So, okay, talking about that shift sort of historically, what are some of the major impacts that are happening on our planet today? Like, what are some of the consequences that we're facing?
Well, definitely climate change is, really in part to a handful of like a few major corporations. So it's definitely kind of tricky. Like, yes, don't use that straw and make that impact. But it's also like we need to be holding these giant corporations accountable. It's definitely, there's definitely some smaller countries that are really sustainable. They're also the most vulnerable. So we can change as much as we want in the U.S. and stop like plastic bags and stuff. And yes, that is a positive effect on, say, like turtles or wildlife. But in the end, like, we need to change regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does the climate get affected by, like, I guess I don't know how.
So for instance, if you take like, do you know about palm oil?
I don't know,
okay.
but I know that it's like bad.
I know it's bad, but I don't know why.
Okay,
yeah.
So palm oil is in like everything. For food, the top thing is Nutella. It's also can be in cosmetics, things like sodium lauryl sulfate, which is which are in is a cleaning agent,
shampoos.
Yeah, it's in a lot of stuff you definitely want to avoid
yeah.
if you see it in a ingredient list. That is also derived from palm oil. So palm oil is mainly made in like Malaysia and Indonesia, I think. They have massive plantations where the climate that the palms thrive in are sort of like darker, heavier rainforest situations where that hosts tons of animals, especially ones that are kind of going extinct, like orangutans. So what they do is they will like burn down the forest just to plant these palms, and that destroys like tons of natural habitat for animals. It's also really awful, like just the emissions that it makes. And it's from another aspect, it's really horrible labor practices. So that's just like one ingredient that is in like a lot of stuff in the U.S. and this is the impact that it has.
And then like, what impact does trash directly have on the environment? That might seem like a silly question, but I'm like, does that increase carbon emissions? I feel like I don't even know the basic science between how the link is between waste or like palm oil and these things and like what's actually happening to our planet, like, or how climate change is even created or yeah.
Well, so climate change is obviously affecting our climate.
Yeah.
But things like if you just take simple trash, for example, it can go a number of routes. It can go in landfill, which is not great because that produces methane gas.
As it's decomposing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for instance, in that trash, I think something like 3/4 of it is food waste. So food, if you composted it instead, it goes back into the earth and then it has a positive contribution. Whereas if you just put it in a landfill, it can't break down and does release methane gas. So it could just be dirt, but instead people are usually tossing food in the landfill and it can't even break down. And that's like a super simple thing because plastic, what are you going to do with plastic? But food, you can get rid of really easily.
Right. That's interesting because I always just figured that things would just compost in the landfills and that it would have the same effect.
They don't have like the same amount of air. So with compost, it's kind of aerated, so things break down, things come out. It becomes soil again, and really rich soil actually. Whereas in a landfill, it's packed really tightly together, so it can't breathe and it can't decompose the same way. And then, for instance, so some trash might be in a landfill. Some trash gets shipped to various other vulnerable countries where they might be doing things like burning it. And burning plastic is really awful for the air that we breathe. And then a lot of times, trash just ends up wherever it ends up in the world. Like when I went to northern Thailand, we were like in the middle of a dense forest, rural, nothing there. And there would be like plastic bags floating by. I could not, there was like no sacred place on earth where you can just not find litter somewhere.
Which is so interesting because I see people taking pictures when they're traveling of like certain areas where things are just covered in trash and they're like, wow, so sad. And I'm like, that's your trash.
Yeah.
Like we have the luxury of having waste systems in the United States where it's like, la da da da, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think about because when I was in India and it was like we were in like the slum area and it's literally like mountains of trash and like the animals are eating the trash and like the kids are, I mean, it's like was just devastating to see. And me with like my troop of like kids from our expensive private school were just like literally saying what you were saying. So terrible, so tragic that they do that over here. Like, and that makes me feel sick. The idea that that's me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the waste in those other countries could be literally yours.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's really wild.
It can be really depressing. We could talk about more upbeat things too.
Well, when you talk about corporations in fact affecting climate change, like is that in the manufacturing of products with CO2 emissions, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, it can be everything from there's things like fracking. I feel like I don't know enough about fracking to go into it in depth, but yeah, definitely stuff like that.
Like
Different,
oil
like
fracking,
offshore
yeah.
drilling. And then even just the emissions with like transportation, if stuff is coming from China, there's just like so many different aspects you can look at. And then, of course, the packaging and stuff, but the ingredients they're using, there's not a lot of transparency. So like this, there's apparently now sustainable palm oil, although I don't feel like that's possible. Yeah. But it's like, so what is I want to see this product from like where it started to like where it is now. Like, why can't we see that? Mm-hmm. It can be from the beginning of the process to the end.
What about, I always hear like the meat industry too, or like do you have any idea offhand, like how that affects the environment?
I know that it's something like if everyone were to stop eating beef, I think it's like the same as if everyone were to stop driving.
Whoa.
Like it's like not exactly, but that's like the meat industry is huge. So I'm vegetarian, but I do know a little bit about, fish stuff. I just recently did a home consultation to be greener, which is like a new project we're starting. But she had a lot of questions about fish because she doesn't really eat meat. So she wanted to know like the more sustainable options. And it's like pretty wild if you delve into it. So for instance, wild fish you don't really want to eat because it's depleting the oceans, and also they can be pretty polluted themselves.
Mercury levels, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, Americans ingest about a credit card's weight worth of plastic a week, be it from like meats or even in just your eyeballs.
I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Tripping out.
In microplastics. People I feel like are going to be tuning out. This is too depressing.
No, please.
Okay, so you could be eating pollution
Wait, how?
and stuff.
Wait, I don't understand.
It's in water. It's little microplastics. So if you have something synthetic, not to be like,
just look.
This is all cotton and leather.
Yeah,
okay.
no, just like
those little microplastics wind up in the water
because as they're breaking down.
Yes, yeah.
So
like
trash
they can
that
be
ends up
shedding
in the ocean or like in the water. Okay, okay.
They can be shedding. There's cool things like the Cora ball is this, and I think also the Guppy bag or something. They're little new devices that can sort of catch microplastics before they enter our water stream. So the Cora ball, it acts like coral, and you can put it in your washing machine, and the little tentacles kind of grab the microplastics.
Someone was telling me about this because you know how all the things that's all the rage now is like things made out of water bottles or like and one of my friends was telling me, but I guess it's not just pertaining to recycled stuff. It could be just like literally any synthetic fabric that's derived from plastic. Yeah, in your washer, that's what happens is that it will little tiny shreds of fat, stuff that comes off, and it goes then into the washing machine water, and then that goes back into all of our water supply is like constantly being recycled.
But I think our filters are not really up to date in terms of catching microplastics.
That's crazy.
So if we're ingesting,
my charcoal thing isn't going to do shit for the microplastics.
so a credit card's worth a week, you said?
A credit card's weight worth
Worth a week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What does that do to our bodies?
Well, I was just thinking, like, I mean, God, I might sound so stupid saying this, but like, if this is something that is happening just super recently, and the amount of like things like cancer that has just been accelerating, I mean, that
Totally.
would make complete. I mean, if I'm eating that much plastic every week,
Yeah.
Or if you just even think about like gut issues. I mean, stuff like
totally.
that I'm
or
obsessive
different allergies
digestion.
that we all have
hey,
now.
why am I so constipated all the time? Because
I have a freaking plastic ball in my intestines.
wow.
So anyway, so back to fish.
Yes.
So that's sort of the issue with wild, is that you don't want to deplete the ocean and they're probably already polluted. With farmed fish, there are definitely, it's just sort of, I feel like everything when you're making sustainable changes is like research. So know where you're getting it from, what their whole chain of, making it or getting it is. And so farmed fish can be really awful. It depends on where it's made, but usually they're in like a, kind of netted cage thing within a river or an ocean. And they themselves kind of get deformed because they get, they're in too small of a place. They get pumped with antibiotics. Then the diseases they have fight against antibiotics, more antibiotics. It's like an awful cycle. And then they start to get deformed. And then the things they're being fed are awful. It's just like a vicious cycle. And I recently watched a documentary on it, and it like opened up some of those farmed fish, and it was just like frightening what's inside them and what we're
what the
eating.
Documentary's called?
No, I think it was on YouTube.
Thanks.
It was an official thing, but it's on YouTube. I think it was something about how farmed salmon is super toxic. Jess, your eyeballs.
I'm literally like, you're just feeding me
and it's
knowledge I
also,
never had.
it's people just like trying to make a buck around the world. So like, it's hard to, blame them, and they don't know the impact it's having. But if you're in Vietnam, or no, where's the Mekong River? I don't remember.
I feel like
Is it Vietnam? Anyway, so they referenced it, and what people are doing is they're channeling some of the river into near their home to farm fish, but that river is super polluted. People just throw their garbage in it. So then there you go, you have a new batch of like these deformed, polluted fish, and it's just like an ongoing thing. So
depressing.
yeah.
So you're veg.
Yeah, I've been veg for a long time. Yeah, I try to be vegan. My daughter really loves cheese, but we buy like local good cheese.
Yeah, I get goat cheese from the co-op by us, and that's kind of like how
I would
justify
say
it.
if you are gonna buy meat and dairy or veggies, even buy local farmers market co-op. Co-ops are cheaper than a lot of places, way cheaper than Whole Foods. And you can like ask people what you feed your fish.
You can also, I know people are gonna be like, this is so sketchy, but like for eggs, you can look up on Craigslist people selling eggs who have chickens in their backyards. Because a lot of times, like people who have chickens, if they have like a lot of chickens, they have way more than they can eat in their household. Like that, Grayson's parents have chickens, and we get a lot of our eggs from them. And so it's like people just, having their chickens in their backyards.
Yeah, definitely. Granted, I do want to say that a lot of these suggestions can sound like they're coming from a place of privilege. Like, people don't have time to go on Craigslist and,
once a
buy
week
those
buy eggs.
Let me like drive on down there to get some farm eggs. So I know, I don't want to stress anyone out that can't make these changes, but you can definitely make some change on any budget.
So true. And even the choices you're making. This is the one thing that is really hard that I've been noticing are surrounding food. And I always like your stories about how you're trying, when you go to the grocery store and going to the co-op, of trying to have a zero waste food. By the way, is that one of the hardest what changes actually have you been implementing in your daily life?
So
how did it start?
I'm like really hardcore right now, but I haven't always been. I've just like every 3 to 6 months, I'll kind of like assess the situation and be like, wait, why are we still buying this? Like recently, well, I guess like 8 months ago, I made the toothpaste switch. So I buy either David's toothpaste, which I gave you guys. It's in like a tin and has like really cute key. So you use like every bit. I use tooth powder, and also sometimes I make my own. And so that was just one of those things. Like I was so used to just like going and buying like my Tums of Maine and didn't think much of it. But yeah, it's in a plastic tube. It actually doesn't have the best ingredients in it. So it's just kind of like reassessing every once in a while. But I feel like bathroom is easiest. And I feel like at least from where I am in my life, food is definitely easier. Yeah, because I have those resources like in my neighborhood.
So that's the thing. Food has actually been hardest for me. And I did want to talk about that in terms of privilege, because where I used to live, and kind of where we live now is like in what people call food desert, where there's basically like no kind of like grocery stores or healthy foods within a certain mileage. And if you're in low income neighborhoods, you might even notice that you've got like KFC, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Carl's Jr., fast food down the whole street. And trying to find just like a normal, like even like a Ralph's or something like that can be sometimes like 3 or 4 miles away, which especially if you live in a big city is pretty fucking far away.
Yeah, if you're relying on public transportation.
I was shocked when we moved to Los Angeles, because where we moved our first year here, there was no grocery store to be found within like a few miles. And I'm like, what is going on? But like you said, it was just lines of fast food.
Yeah. And even the grocery stores that are near us are like Smart and Final and Food for Less. And it's like the two that are close to us, like don't have a bulk section, you know, like the only thing that I can get is like fresh produce without having to use like single-use plastics or like styrofoam or cardboard or all that kind of stuff. And so it's hard. And like for people who live in certain neighborhoods or maybe who live in like small towns in the Midwest, it's like we don't even have a grocery store in our, you know? And so I was wondering if you had any like tips for that, but also just so we can acknowledge that some of the things we're going to be talking about are coming from a place of privilege that not everybody else has access to. And so I just want to give this kind of disclaimer as we're talking that it's about doing what's in your power and in your control and in your budget and in your resources of energy and time and all that kind of thing. So just wanted to put that out there.
No, I definitely, and also my own disclaimer is I'm definitely privileged with my time. I work for myself, but like money is not something I have always had. And I have like not that much now, but it's definitely like I choose to prioritize it. And because I have the privilege of like time that's kind of flexible, I could like spend more time researching or like doing more home prep of food for the week, or, you know, making my own condiments, things like that, which in the long run save money. But there's like time that a lot of people don't have. So what I do for groceries is about once every 2 weeks, I restock all my bulk. So it's pasta, it's grains, beans. I buy all like dry beans. I don't do cans. Well, once in a while. It's like all in moderation. Right. And then about every week, I buy like fresh stuff. So, you know, I buy like kale and just butters and things like that. And then on like Sunday night, I'll do my prep for the week. So I'll make salad dressing, and I'll also prep things that are in season. So at our co-op, they'll put on sale some funky looking tomatoes, and I will like, it'll take just like an hour, but you can like roast tons of tomatoes and then you bottle them and freeze them. And then you have like roasted tomato sauce that you can use for whatever. And I do the same with berries and stuff. So it's kind of just like, it's a little bit more like thinking ahead.
Yeah. What about things like olive oil or baking soda? Do you just
I buy that
like,
bulk, but not a lot of places have that.
Okay.
So yeah, especially olive oil, I feel like, I don't know, but it really depends.
You know, there's things like that where I've kind of assessed and I'm like, I don't really know how to solve this problem of like something that I need for baking or that kind of thing that I can't get
also,
out.
like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, weigh your options and see like, well, okay, baking powder for like, you're not going to use it maybe that often. Buy this. If you ever find a bulk place, that's cool. If not, you're not going to, you know, go through a million.
Okay, I'm probably going to sound silly, but so buying it in bulk, why is that better?
Oh,
so it's not individually packaged.
So you bring your own things. So what you can get is like a mesh bag or like, you know, we have bags laying around the house.
This is an old tahini jar with the tear on it because I normally use this to fill stuff up, but it has my coffee in it right now.
So like we've recently been making this switch. So like even if you have canvas bags laying around, or even if you have like I always save if something comes in like a little plastic bag, I just save it and reuse it over and over again. And you can then take it to the bulk section. So instead of buying like a box of rice that then has a plastic disposable thing inside with the rice, you go to the bulk section, you bring your jar with you, or you bring your bag with you and fill it up with rice or like beans, like you were saying, instead of using a can. So you bring your own containers to house the bulk stuff instead of buying it off the shelf with all the excess packaging that it comes in.
And you don't pay for the packaging. So like I said, this has the tear. So the tear is the weight before it's filled. So then at the register, they would take that weight off.
Yeah. Or even, I mean, it's not ideal, but like in certain sections, they'll have paper bags that you could fill up like a paper bag with almonds instead of buying like a big plastic unscrew jar of almonds.
And it's also cool because if you're like doing some experimental cooking, you could buy just like a tiny bit of something without wasting like a whole jar, you know. I do want to suggest some places that if you don't have sort of like a farmer's market, there are CSAs, which is community supported agriculture. And I'm sure you guys have them all over here.
I'm going to look it up because I've never even heard of that.
Oh my God.
I've never heard of
CSAs
it.
are the best. So what happens is ours is every week on Sundays. It meets at different local gardens in the city. If you're in New York, it's called Lungs, Community Lungs, I think. And it's basically
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. Okay. I think it was called a CSA.
Yeah. So they work with different farms, and it's like a CSA. You like have a membership, or it can be weekly, but you pay like a certain amount and you get sort of a varied selection of stuff. So my CSA is $10 and you get like a grocery paper-sized bag full of various things. Sometimes it could be like watermelon, Brussels sprouts, strawberries, like tomatoes, like tons of stuff. And it's super cheap and it's organic.
Yeah. We used to get it as a kid and we'd get, like crates of fruits and vegetables. And then you would leave the crate out and they'd pick it up. And so you just you wouldn't use any waste.
Oh, that's a nice one they deliver.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say that a lot of these kinds of programs have sort of lower income slots. So you can say that you can't afford it and they will consider you and fit you in.
Also, I just wanted to say, so I know some people don't have the option of doing bulk, but even like a small change that you could make. So in the fruits and veggies section, instead of grabbing one of those plastic bags off of the thing to put your apples in, you could bring your own bags for it. Or if I forget to do that, just put it all in your cart.
You do not need those bags.
No.
The other day I saw a guy putting I went to a conventional grocery store, which I can't even go to anymore. I get so much anxiety. But and this is the exact example why, he was taking 1 lime, 1 lemon, several times, putting them in single bags. They can touch. They can touch.
What
yes.
the fuck?
He had 6, and each lime and lemon had its own bag. It's not necessary.
Y'all,
no one needs it.
I know
also,
you don't. Yeah,
you're gonna wash it at home.
That's
probably.
the thing. You should be
Your
washing
kale
it at home.
can touch the cart.
Yes, I know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's just one tip where I realized, why am I even getting bags for this?
Yeah, those bags have always been a little confusing.
Just throw it all in your cart.
You don't need it.
The
And you know what?
person at
It
the
looks
checkout-
cuter when you get home and it's all on the table, not in plastic. It looks
It's
cute.
true, and it's very Instagrammable. And the person in the the cashier person may roll their eyes at you as your avocados are rolling everywhere, but who cares? And so that's a small change you can make without having to remember to bring anything, without having all that.
Also, the plastic netting at grocery stores, they'll have
Like in
avocados
oranges.
or oranges. Yeah, you don't need it.
oh yeah,
Just buy
okay.
them individually and throw them in your cart,
Oh, that's such a simple tip that I can
like a hack. Even though I love the bags of cuties,
What are those?
like the
Those
tangerines
little
that come in the
pouches.
bag.
My
And-
co-op has them plastic free.
wow.
I really spoiled my co-op. I went to
I know your
one-
co-op. Oh, I see your Instagram. That is crazy.
It's smaller than this garage.
Wow.
But it's packed there. But Co-Opportunity I went to, and it was amazing.
I had one walking distance from my last house in Culver City, and I loved
What
it.
is co-opportunity?
It's a co-op over here.
A co-op.
Oh, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and co-op is just, I believe, it just means that they cooperate with local farmers and local.
No,
Does that know what it means?
It means you can become a member.
Oh.
So you can have either a working membership or non-working. I have non-working because I don't have time, but I pay like $45 a year and I get, I think it's something like 10% discount on every purchase. You don't have to be a member to shop. And then working discount, that is different for different people. But in my co-op, it's like you have to work like an hour and a half every other week and you get like 20% off.
I don't know if they have that option at Co-Opportunity, but I had a membership and then they'd have certain days of the month where like everything would be 30% off for members or something cool like that.
The other thing great about co-ops is you look like less of a weirdo when your cart is full of bulk things that every single thing needs to be weighed because the old lady behind you, she's also got the same thing. So
I don't know about the one in Santa Monica, but the one in Culver City was kind of disappointing though, because I had been to co-ops in San Francisco where like you can basically like buy bread without packaging and like eggs and like basically everything. They didn't have that option really at Co-Opportunity. It's kind of like sort of Whole Foods with like a really nice bulk section.
You know what's sad is that I didn't know what a co-op was until a certain Broad City episode.
I mean, again,
I was like, what is this magical place? They're talking about the co-op. And
I
I'm
think
like,
it's a thing of privilege. There's actually a really good one in Eagle Rock that's really close to you.
well, now I know.
It's also a
Changes.
vegan. It's also a vegan one too.
Changes on
It
the
got
way.
really good cashew cheese. Anyway, quick break.
Anyway, well, speaking of sustainable, let's chat about the most sustainable bedding company on the planet, Ettitude. And let's talk about Ettitude sheets. Silk is hot and expensive. Linen is scratchy and cotton is scratchy and hot. But now there's Ettitude. Made from 100% organic, clean bamboo, these sheets are pure heaven and make the perfect gift for yourself or everyone on your list.
You've probably heard about bamboo sheets, but Ettitude's clean bamboo is the third generation of bamboo bedding technology, and it's absolutely amazing. Ettitude sheets are feathery soft, not to mention beautiful. I have one of their comforter thingies. Comforter, what are they called? Duvets.
Duvet.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
It's lush.
One customer said, they make my 1,300 cotton Egyptian sheets feel like sandpaper. Best sleep of my life. It's true. The level of soft is crazy. Also, organic clean bamboo recycles 98% of the water it uses, so it's the most sustainable bedding available. Cotton uses a ton of pesticides and wastes water, and it's harmful on the environment. And if you want to give a gift that the recipient will love and future generations will thank you, give the gift of Ettitude sheets.
Evan and I have had the best sleep of our lives since we got Ettitude. Fact, hands down, we used to dream of sleeping in those hotel beds. Not so anymore. Now I have the most comfortable bedding in my house. And why not try Ettitude? These amazing sheets have a 30-day risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your sheets for a full refund. They even cover shipping made with they even cover shipping and returns. And Ettitude bedding is for the educated, conscious consumer. It's 100% organic bamboo, like Becca was saying, made with non-toxic manufacturing process. It's hypoallergenic and antimicrobial. Ettitude's other products also make great holiday gifts. You can check out their beautiful pajamas. They're so cute. They're bath towels and bath robes, all made out of that feathery, soft bamboo fabric.
Ettitude sheets. They're soft as silk, breathable as linen, but the price of cotton. You or that special someone you buy them for are going to love them. Right now, our listeners will get 20% off their sheet set and free shipping. Just text CHAT to 64,000. The only way to get 20% off your Ettitude sheets and free shipping is to text CHAT to 64,000. Text CHAT to 64000.
Becca, do you know what I like?
What do you like?
Smelling good. Do you know what I not like? Not smelling good. It's really simple. And if I can't smell myself in a positive way throughout the day, I tend to get a little anxious. And Scentbird helps ensure I always smell delish.
Well, yes, scent is the most powerful sense you have. A smell can bring on a flood of memories, influence your mood, and of course enhance your natural style. But while you're looking for that signature scent that will make you stand out and keep the memory of you lingering on, why waste so much time and money with cheap knockoffs and half-empty bottles of failed experiments? With Scentbird, you can have great taste and mix up your fragrance routine without breaking the bank, whether it's Tom Ford, Gucci, Versace. Scentbird.com keeps you smelling good month after month.
Scentbird has more than 600 designer brands that you can choose from, perfumes and colognes. Each month, you can choose the perfume you want to try, and they will send you a 30-day supply. I have a lot of fun experimenting and mixing it up, so right now I'm really feeling that Burberry Brit. It's kind of my favorite find.
Okay, and with an exclusive offer just for our listeners. You can get 30% off your first month today. That's only $10 for your first fragrance. Go to scentbird.com/chatty or use code chatty for 30% off your first month. Again, that's SCENT bird.com/chatty for you to try your first perfume or cologne for just $10. Sign on, smell amazing. Okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to... Oh, did you have any other fast tips for like grocery shopping just in general? Things you've changed, things you didn't think of, I don't know, all that kind of stuff.
I don't know, just that if, it doesn't always have to be about bulk. When you are considering bulk, it still arrives in plastic. It's just like you yourself are not getting that, plastic bag or something. So we do have to look at it that way. And, but like weigh your options, like with the pastas, look around, see what's what, where is it from? Like, instead of just being like, this is bulk or this is organic.
Yeah. And I've also been thinking lately, like, I don't know if you guys have had the Mary's Gone crackers that are like the really seedy ones.
Yes.
They're so good. I started thinking,
yummy.
I was like, okay, why don't I just look up a knockoff recipe?
I do that all the time.
Yeah. And then I was like, wait, this is so easy. I just have to buy sesame seeds in bulk, like chia seeds, some random other stuff.
And a lot of that stuff freezes. So like you can have your like Sunday night prep and then just do it. One thing like I recently switched to is I make tofu cream cheese.
Ooh,
it's
it
really
sounds good.
yummy because otherwise I was getting the tofutti and the packaging and it's really processed. So not that tofu is like the best in the world anyway, but now it's really easy to make your own tofu cream cheese.
Yeah, and I started doing that with garlic spread too. Just little things where I'm like, wait, can I make this every once in a while instead of buying the little plastic container of it or buying the crackers that there's like 15 of them, in the box. It's not even that many, and having them in the plastic, in the cardboard.
I would recommend my favorite resource because she's super relatable is Anne Marie Bonneau. Her Instagram is Zero Waste Chef and her website because it's a little frustrating and being sustainable kind of feels like unattainable when it's like the 23-year-old single girl with like the jar of this is my waste from a whole year and it's like I have
like,
a kid,
I'm a mother.
like things get like
parents, we have
shoved
work,
on
we
me,
have-
whether I want it to or not. It's like not realistic. And also, sorry, you're not counting your like emissions of flying to conferences. So Anne Marie Bonneau, I love her. She's just like, she's a little bit crustier too, which I feel like I am. So like she's all into like stuff from the side of the road. And like she has amazing recipes for pretty much anything. She taught me about the roasted tomatoes in season, which like is such an obvious thing, but like, oh, that's a really good idea.
And that's Zero Waste Chef.
Yes. Yeah. She's amazing. And I know that quote is going around a lot, which is like, oh, I always screw it up, but like, it doesn't take one person doing zero waste perfectly. It takes like a million people doing it imperfectly or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen it. That's her quote.
Be an imperfect vegan, be an imperfect. I've been seeing those things. Like
well,
being
so
imperfect.
the original one is her, and she often doesn't get
That's
cited.
that's so like for someone like me though, hearing that is such a good reminder because I personally was raised in a home that was, I guess, maybe the opposite of everything that you guys are talking about. Like I knew nothing of this and my family knew nothing of it. So that's not anything that I practice. So sometimes I hear like things that you're saying and it's really overwhelming to me because I go, oh my God, I literally, the amount of stuff that I'm going to have to change is just insurmountable. So just that idea of like being an imperfect vegan, being imperfect, living sustainably, like, okay, I can take one step at a time. And like these tips that you're giving are helpful because I'm like, okay, I can like check out my co-op. Like I can check this out. I can do those easy things at the grocery store, like not get those extra plastic bags. Like I can do that step by step.
I started thinking about that when I was vegetarian. And I was like, you know what? We put so much pressure, especially specifically with like diets like vegan or vegetarian of like, you've got to be perfect. Like you never eat eggs, never eat butter, check all the packaging, make sure there's no honey in it. And it's sort of like, which is completely fine if you want to live your life that way. But for a lot of other people, it's like, fuck, I can't do that. So I just, fuck it. I'm not going to do anything. Instead of like, imagine if you just switched to eating meat one day a week or 2 days a week. Like just start decreasing, like we only had like a hamburger now and then, if we stopped buying lunch meat, just little things. Like, you don't have to commit to like never eating meat again, never buying fish again, like never using plastic. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, it just gets overwhelming and you're like, fuck it, this is.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it's been throughout my life, that it's this idea of like you go, well, I don't think I could ever, I don't think I could ever go that far. I don't think I could ever do that much so like perfectly. So I guess I just won't, instead of being like, hey, you know what? Like, you can change these small things, and that I can like wrap my brain around.
I hate that I'm making this parallel right now, but you know what I'm talking about, being raised Christian, and they talk about that cycle of guilt and shame about like you fuck up and then you're like, you just start sinning all the time again. And there's this cycle, but it's like, I think about it a lot in terms of this, of that cycle of guilt and shame of like messing up and then just letting everything fall to the wayside because you feel like shit and you're beating yourself over the head for like making a mistake.
I was vegan for 6 months, and I literally one day slipped up and I had the full shame and I went dive bombing back in. Dive bombing. And I was just like, well, screw it. I already messed up, so I might as well. Instead of being like, no, girl, it's fine. Like, just slowly get back in. It's not a big deal. Like, tomorrow's a new day. Don't beat yourself up. And I was just like, I guess I'm just going full. Yeah, it's not good.
And also, like, I do get too, if my personality is sort of like, it's easier for me to go all or nothing, like, which I think it is for everyone. Like, balance is so much harder to implement in your life than I think.
Sierra, did you, when you like started more of this sustainable like journey, was it less step-by-step thing, or did you kind of just dive head first?
Yeah, like I said, it's like it's always a step-by-step kind of. In my business too, I'm like reassessing, like we would be carrying maybe something I thought was really cute. I'm like, oh, but it comes packaged like this and they're not willing to change, so maybe we won't carry it anymore. Things like that, because it's just, I don't know, it's also hard to tell kind of on the go if like you're buying something and you're into it and then it's like, oh, this isn't as good of a choice as I thought, so I'm gonna like in the future not go do that. So yeah, it's like, it's a continual process.
Also for me, maybe some of our listeners this way, I sort of have to wait until like the spirit moves me in a way. Like for being vegetarian, it was like something I really thought on for a while. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, today's the day. Like from here on out, we're doing it. And for some reason, it's been like a couple months ago. You know what it was actually? And I would really encourage our listeners to do this. In one of my classes, which the class was writing for artists, had nothing to do with this. And my professor had us 3 days try to generate no waste for 3 days. And she's like, I don't care if this means buying all your groceries the day before day one and throwing out all the plastic on like day 0 before day 1. She's like, I don't care. Just try to see if you can for 3 days, create no waste. And we had to journal through it. And it was so hard. And when we got back after those days, she was like, yeah, so you all failed, right? Like that's like, and anyway, something about that. And we watched the Greta Thunberg video, but something about all that, like just really watching myself. So the futility of me trying to not generate waste was so overwhelming for me. And I was with my parents at the time and I was like, Mom, you change Ruth's diaper because I'm not supposed to be generating waste. So you and her are technically doing it, you know? And I don't know why, there's something in that just really shifted things for me. And I've been like, and also created anxiety for me. And that's also sort of the dark side of all that we're talking about, is when you do start to research and get into it,
you can't unsee it.
You can't. Yeah. And it starts to get very like, and also you don't want to be that obnoxious, annoying person either. Like Evan was talking about getting tablets for us. And I was just like, can we find like refurbished ones that are used? Cause like, I don't want to buy a fucking new tablet. And it's like, or even talking to my parents and Grayston's parents about like, please don't buy anything new for Ruth. Like, and it's hard.
Yeah.
And like, I've really seriously had that discussion where I'm like, they'll buy something and be like, isn't this cute? I'm like, I asked you, like, please don't like buy anything new for her anymore. And I'm just like, oh, now I'm seeing like that like obnoxious, annoying bitch that's like,
well, no, that's like still a constant struggle. Even though everyone knows that this is me and I do it for work and it's been a long time, they're still like, oh, here are the jelly sandals from Target that I got for Cece. And I'm like, please no. And I'll just bring it straight to the consignment store at this point because it's like really frustrating. But a note to what you said about like trying to create zero waste. Like I don't love that, or you didn't say zero waste, but I was thinking it. I don't love that term because it doesn't take into account like, yeah, your gas when driving. It doesn't take into account like if you go to a restaurant, what is the waste being created behind the scene? Like unless you're not going to be zero waste, unless, well, you're not alive.
Are you using toilet paper? Because even it's getting flushed down the toilet, that's still waste.
You know, it's like, that's why I don't love that term. And so I like try to look at other people that that are just showing more approachable ways to be sustainable. But yeah, I think that turns a lot of people off too. Cause it's like, oh, well, I can't make
unattainable.
It's unattainable.
Yeah.
So,
also just like another small thing, talking about food before we transition, I really want to talk about fashion and like home products and all that sort of thing. Water bottles. And I know that it's like, the cool thing is that culturally we're like starting to shift a lot of narratives, like the straws and the water bottles. Maybe it's just because we live in LA too. Like when you live in a big city.
I'm seeing it everywhere. Like when
Really?
I saw it a lot in Mexico. Yeah.
That's so cool.
There's a whole, thing it was in Oaxaca and Mexico City that was like sin popote por favor, which is like no straw please, like hashtag that all over the cities, which is really cool. So it's kind of everywhere. I know I might be working with this woman in India who they use fallen leaves and they steam them to make straws. Whoa. Because it's better than paper, and it's employing all these rural women in India. I don't remember the name of the company, but we can look it up. But it's like things like that. So it's all over the world.
Also, just to plug real quick, Lovewild Design, which you can look up on Instagram, or we're also going to have a link in our episode notes. Yes. You have little things like straws, and instead of using foil or aluminum foil or using plastic wrap, you can use wax paper things. Can't think of what they're called.
I'm not good at monetizing myself, but I do have a store that carries a lot of things we're talking about.
Please.
And in fact, you asked me to do a little like low waste guide. And so now we have a page on that, which people have been ordering from.
Great.
That just is like kind of starter kit of like various things to get started, like a charcoal water filter and like tooth stuff. And yeah, it doesn't have what a lot of other ones have, which is like a tote and a bottle. Because we already have those things.
Yes.
I know everyone has those.
Yes. And even if you have plastic bags around your house, like just keep them.
Yeah.
That's what I do, because they come in handy and like you can reuse them. And I just have noticed, like traveling and stuff, I always lose my reusable water bottles, which is so annoying, like my hydro flasks and stuff. But we were just traveling, and even though it's like the more expensive option, I know sometimes you forget your water bottles, all that kind of stuff. If you buy a glass one, even though it might be a couple dollars more, you can keep reusing it. And thankfully, like when you're traveling and stuff, a lot of times they now have those water bottle filler uppers. And so just like just being conscious of like, even if you have to like buy something because you forgot to bring whatever, do whatever, like there's like little loopholes of things that you can reuse, like a glass bottle.
Yeah, you don't need to go on Amazon and order everything that is only waste.
And I love that you made that note in the page that you created for our listeners, because you were like, the best thing is not to go out and buy a bunch of shit. And unfortunately, like that's what this culture has sort of created. Like, in order to start living a less wasteful lifestyle, here's the kit you have, and all this shit really you have to buy.
Your
bamboo fork and spoon. Why do you need to buy a new fork and spoon to take with you?
I'm definitely frustrated by there's like lots of online like, this is how you go zero waste, and it's like alternatives to everything. It's like, but no, either use if you already have that, like use the plastic hairbrush until it's like dead and then get a bamboo one. But it's definitely a little frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like little options. I'm starting to get creative now, and it's kind of fun. But like, you have forks and spoons and knives and generally like reusable containers. And so what I've started doing is like, okay, and we normally have totes. Like if you shop at, well, this is expensive, but like Free People, they'll give you one of those reusable totes things, or just like plastic bags you already have in your closet or whatever. Just throw several in your car so that you have them in case you forget when you go grocery shopping or shopping. And then what I've started doing too is like, you know, if you buy a sour cream thing that comes in a tub, save that little tub, grab a fork and spoon, and like you can put all that stuff in your car too. So if you're ordering takeout from a restaurant, they might look at you weird, but you go and say like, hey, can you put my stuff in here? And you can just have that stuff in your car so that you can go get takeout in the containers you already have.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you bring your own containers for takeout, you get bigger portions.
Really?
I don't know if they're like not used to it or whatever, but I like pretty much always get bigger portions.
Or when you're at a restaurant and leftovers, you're
yeah.
you can bring in your little containers for leftovers.
I found that like a 32 ounce or 16 ounce mason jar is like an all purpose amazing thing to have on you. It starts as my coffee cup, then it becomes water for a minute, and then it becomes my compost jar. So like if we're at a restaurant and there's like orange peels, I'll just take it. Now that's a little hardcore. Like you don't have to do that, but it's all purpose. And actually speaking to that, we're starting this new project because I am so like intense with my sustainability. I do want to make it more approachable. So we're starting to do like home consultations where we go in and film it, and sort of it'll soon be little segments of like, you know, ways to switch over really like your laundry room and your kitchen, and have it with people that like, you know, all over the spectrum that might not have any idea, which is what we recently did with my sister-in-law. Like has no idea, but she like recently is into it. So I grasped onto that and was like, okay, I'm coming to your house and we're bringing a film crew. So that, yeah, people can maybe relate more to the other person, but then like get my input of how to change things around.
That's such a cool idea.
Which I'd love to do you guys another time.
Yes. I know, seriously. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love that.
I'm going to get into action before you get there. So I'm perfect. No, just kidding. And then, oh man, there's so many things. My brain's just been going on overdrive lately. Like, did you know you guys can buy recycled toilet paper? Not like toilet paper is recycled.
Who gives a crap is great. It's bamboo and 50% of profit.
That's literally the name of it?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, I was just saying that. Who gives a crap, Becca? No, so, and like something like 50% of profits go to build toilets in rural areas.
Cool.
Wow. It's all bamboo. They have paper towels, not that you need paper towels, but paper towels, tissues, and toilet paper. And they have really cute packaging, which you can reuse as wrapping paper.
Wow.
We told my sister-in-law that like during the filming, and she was like, you can have it back.
That is so cool. Okay, that's really good to know, because I was wondering about good brands for that, and I love that they donate 50% back.
That's amazing.
Also, other things we talked about, like menstrual cups.
Mm-hmm. Reusable pads. My mother hates that I use those, but
I know I've used them too.
Like,
or the underwear, but
yeah.
You can also get really creative. And like if you have, because sometimes like your clothes or towels and stuff get to the point where they're like beyond donating. You know, sometimes you have that stuff where you're like, this is no longer good.
There's textile recycling programs.
Oh, really?
That are often linked to farmers markets, and they have drop-offs. They can do shoes to clothing to costumes, everything. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I also know with ThreadUp, they have a donating bag that they can ship to you, and anything that's not sellable, they will send to recycling facilities, which is like, I think is really helpful, because then it can just come to your door no matter where you live in the US. Wow. So that's good to know too. Yeah. But I was gonna say, like for some of that stuff, like let's say you decide to cut out paper towels, you can like cut up shirts and stuff into rags and like use that. Like
these are all such practical, helpful things.
Yeah.
No, literally,
And
I
also
never would have
these-
thought of that. Like genuinely, like
a lot of these things are not money spendy things. Yeah.
It's just like, because there are things like in my closet that I'm like, I just can't donate this. Like it's not.
just cut up, throw it in a rag box, and like use that instead of paper towels.
Wow. That's amazing. Can we talk a little bit about fashion?
Okay, yeah.
Because so this is a hard one for me, because I just love clothing. Like I'm a clothing fanatic, and that's what I used to do. Is I did wardrobe styling for numerous years, and I'm curious about fashion in that sense. I have been, you'd be so proud of me. I've been, and I don't know, I might say this and this might not be like the best way to do it. But for me, I would always just buy new. And so for the past couple months, I've been really good about going to like our local like Crossroads and Buffalo Exchange.
Yes, girl!
And I've been bringing all my stuff that like I want to, and I take it there, and then I'm just doing this like swap, and I'm just like, yay,
and
this is
saving so much
fun.
money too.
Saving so much money, and then also just like feeling like really good about the fact that I'm like, okay, I'm not like going and buying, and I'm getting, I guess then the transition would be like, I'm not necessarily getting the brands that are like good for helping with the environment.
No, but if it's used,
that's what,
it's there, and I'm like, okay, like now it's almost, and it's fun too because I've been able to,
the fun of the find.
It's the fun of the find. Then also like, you know, where like I used to, because I am very like trend oriented, that I get bored quick, and then I would just buy something new. That now I'm like, okay, like if I get over something fast, I'm donating it or taking it there. And
what
then
would
like,
you do with your clothes before?
I mean, I would donate them.
Okay.
I would take them to
So
Goodwill.
a huge amount of clothes do not actually get even onto the floor at Salvation Army and like Goodwill and stuff. They have so much
Really?
that a lot of it just ends up in
So
the
do they
landfill.
just like kind of pick through like what they like, or
Yeah,
is it just?
I think different places have different ways they deal with it. But yeah, a chunk of it gets on the floor and a chunk of it ends up in landfill.
Wow. So like, what's the best?
Not to say not donate. I'm just like, you know, it's not the end all be all.
But to maybe like donate more like consciously, like going to, are there
I think it starts
specific?
with buying more consciously.
Okay.
And then, no, still donate. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Well,
but it's like, you know.
Yeah, I have noticed that only certain Goodwills are linked to recycling. Like some, but it's only some. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
only
that's
some
true.
are linked to textile recycling.
I think some states don't even have that at all.
Yeah, and I've noticed that my local ones, I looked it up and there's no information on it. So I'm like, oh shit. But
Also, for some items, you have places like animal rescues love fur because they double as little dog beds, and
Oh
they
my
like
God.
can always use more of that because they get worn out. So at least like you give it a little extra life before.
also you could like, you know, I never got around to doing it because so much work. But you could like create a Poshmark, something like that, sell to
Yeah,
people
eBay.
on that eBay.
I sell on eBay.
Or ThredUp, which I advertise for all the time, but you can just like ship in your stuff and they take photos of it and everything, and you get pretty small amount of it, or you can just donate it through ThredUp. And I do like that all of their stuff, I know that if it doesn't get sold, it's linked to the recycling program. So, and they let you choose where the donations go to. So like they'll just sell all the stuff on your behalf and you can pick what it benefits. So I like that. But then also you have to weigh it of like they send you a plastic bag to donate the clothes.
Yeah.
And you the carbon emissions of shipping and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
you have to sort of weigh like, you know, where am I going to make these sacrifices, or what's more important? Like, yeah, if you have, say, a ton of clothing to get rid of, then maybe that is the best option despite the plastic bags. And
Yeah. And women's shelters sometimes take clothing donations too. So there's that too.
I would say that buying used is definitely like number one, though. Even
Okay.
if it does come online and the emissions, the buying used outweighs like all the waste and water and everything that goes into
There's so many
making new.
Yeah, there's so many factors because like a lot of times they'll create the textile. I mean, there's like so much that goes into it, and you can speak to this, Sierra, because I'm sure you probably know more about it in terms of like excess textile that gets burned or thrown away. Toxic dyes, like all this kind of growing cotton.
I mean, yeah, the amount of water and waste denim makes is like outstanding. I don't know the specific numbers, but I do know that denim is like one of the highest
Really?
waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why like brands like Reformation, they mark like how much water you've saved every time you buy a piece. So you can definitely shop from smaller brands. But yeah, there's also really cool places coming out like Fab Scrap, which we actually did a line of towels that was using all of their fabric. So Fab Scrap picks up, it's in New York, but they pick up
Is this
discarded.
online, Fab Scrap?
It's online, but
Okay.
they have a giant warehouse in Brooklyn and in Chelsea. They have a little store. But so they pick up from different designers around New York and maybe elsewhere the discarded fabric. So we found like 6 bolts of organic cotton and hemp from Mara Hoffman, the designer, and we turned those into towels.
Sick.
And you can just go and like make everything. I recently did 2 Dolly Parton costumes, and all of that was from Fab Scrap.
Cool.
It's really cool. It's like an amazing new
They
thing.
have one in
but
LA. I can't think of what it's called that I've been to before, which is so fun. It's just a warehouse filled with excess fabric because
Yeah.
that's something you don't think about. A company may order bolts upon bolts upon bolts of this fabric, and then they may only make a certain amount of stock, and then
Or
Bye.
even if it has like a minor defect, like ours had like some little tiny stripes in it, but it was like organic hemp and cotton, like super high quality,
It's
which
out.
we got for like a couple $100. Like that would have been many thousands.
Do you know anything about, I've really been curious about this lately, places like Marshalls or like Ross, and like what the, because
How they get the things.
well, because I've wondered, like, is that also better than buying retail? Because when you buy retail, you're basically like, you're buying stock of something that then they have to make more of. It's like, it's basically like sending a message back to that brand, you know, that you're buying this certain
They
amount.
enjoy, yeah.
But then with somewhere like Marshalls or Ross, I've been curious about it because it's all excess stuff that would have that would get scrapped, I think, if it doesn't get sold there, correct?
I'm not sure. That's actually really interesting to look into. And actually, I don't think that the brands that are working with them are like blind to what is selling, because we have been approached. Actually, we did work once with TJ Maxx, and so they know quantities and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it's just like a discounted thing. It doesn't mean like, you know, it was junk to the maker, the manufacturer. It's definitely, it was just excess, but they're keeping track of numbers.
Okay, because I sort of wondered about that, if it's like stuff that would get, like, is it that would have not been sold anyway? So is like that better than buying like retail?
I feel like no.
No.
I don't know enough about it, but I feel like no, because of what I've seen when working with them.
Okay, good to know. And then also, like, hello, thrift stores, antique stores, vintage stores, which I always get messages whenever I post stuff. I get people are like, I don't have any of this good shit in my Goodwills. Like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. So I get that, like, the
it's also a lot of people don't have the patience. Like, it is time, you know.
I have to be in the right mood. I can't just go any day.
No.
It's not like just taking a trip to Target, you know.
But when you
like,
are in the right mood, oh man, I've been like really getting off on going.
I score.
The hunt is like so much fun.
I've also just tried to be like, and again, it drives my other family members crazy, but like, we needed to get a new sippy cup for Ruth because she's transitioning out of bottles. So I was like, okay, I am scouring Goodwill until I find a sippy cup. And which for some reason I have not been able to find one. But
I feel like that's the thing people throw out.
Yeah.
Do you have any, so where I live, there are some great children's consignment stores.
I have yet to find one, but I need to look for one.
Yeah,
there's one in Orange County.
Oh, good to know.
I forget the name, but I got my strollers there and bedding and all that stuff from there, and it's great.
But like taking that extra time to be like, oh, I need it. I mean, like toasters you can get at Goodwill instead of like ordering it on Amazon, thinking about like, can I buy this? Can I find this on Craigslist? Can I find this at a Goodwill nearby? And you're going to save so much money.
Yeah. I think just like slow down a little if you can. And just like, shop more consciously of like, I wrote in the little blurb on our like low waste essentials page, but like, can you repair this? Can you resell it? Where is it going to go if it breaks or you don't need it anymore? For certain, like I like to repair a lot of things and like build stuff. So for me, that's easy. But like, if it's like with some silly, ridiculous thing, my daughter Pickles, I thought she needed, you know, because everyone when they're little tells you need everything. So like we got some silly bouncy chair or like one of those ones that hangs from the ceiling, and like, you know, I bought it at a consignment store. She used it for a week, and then I sold it at the site for more, I think. But like, you know, things like that. Like as a parent, it's hard, and you get shoved things by like grandparents and stuff a lot.
Oh my god!
Well, like you said, consignment store, or you said earlier eBay, which I like forget that's still a thing.
Oh my god, it is thriving. You can find everything.
Yeah, and I should have done that for different baby gear. Like I should have gotten my Baby Bjorn bouncer, which that was one of the things people said I needed, and we used it every freaking day. But like buying that on eBay instead, it's already used. Yeah, you can sell it after.
My mom's actually been, and now that I think about this is beautiful for my mom. This is leaps and bounds. She's been buying whenever she gets Ember a gift lately, she's been buying her toys on eBay.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that was.
And if you're like weirded out by used stuff, there's like things on eBay. Like I recently bought an Instant Pot that had a dent in it, but it was like straight from the manufacturer. It was like $15, and they're normally like over $90.
They actually do that on, I've been trying to avoid Amazon too, because not only is it not great for the environment in terms of shipping and emissions and plastic and all that kind of thing, they also treat their workers like shit. But they do have a used section on there too. So that's also like you can look under the items and see if they have the used option, because you can find the same thing like you're talking about. Issues like I got a Hydro Flask for half the price because it had a dent in the side. But also, I think people don't think about the amount of things we use on a daily basis that are used. So like getting forks or spoons and that kind of stuff from Goodwill, people are like, ew. And I'm like, do you eat at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Do you sleep on sheets at a hotel? Guess what? That shit's just bleached and like
totally.
Yeah.
you can do
It's
that
probably
at
more
home.
used than
Yes.
I recently started a cup exchange at one of my local coffee shops. So like I was at a thrift store. I spent $20 on like 30 mugs and a basket, and I made them a pretty like lettered sign and was like, here's your cup exchange. We're gonna start this here. I'll put it on Instagram and people will love it. And the guy was like a little funny with it, but now he like posts it all the time. And people were responding like, oh, if I use those cups, like make sure you're all up to date on your shots. It's like, ew, you would use mugs anyway.
Yeah, literally at any
Anywhere.
restaurant.
What is the
You know, you
difference?
get that cup with lipstick on it every now and then. You're like, oh,
People have this idea about stuff. It's very funny.
And also, it's more on the expensive side when it comes to clothes. Like, there's options like Rent the Runway, where you can get like designer pieces, but
Well, that's the type of stuff that like that you wear one time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry. I don't mean. I'm saying like it's perfect for when you're gonna wear something one time. Like
a
I know
cocktail dress
exactly
for a wedding.
Exactly. Like I have a wedding that I'm going to, and actually I know about Rent the Runway because of you. And I looked at that up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's these pieces that like first of all you're saving money on this thing, but then you're returning it and.
They also have. I get ads for one on my Instagram all the time. That's like free people in anthropology. That's like $60 a month or something, and you can get like up to 6 pieces or something at once, which is kind of a lot. And so there's that, and they usually come in reusable bags. Again, with the emissions with shipping, but like it's so much less waste. So there's and also there's a brand. I'll just plug another one called Up Choose that has baby stuff, and they send you a big canvas bag that has all these different compartments like baby pants, baby shirts, baby hats, all the stuff you would basically need for each growth stage. So like 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, whatever. And it's all used, but it's in great condition. It's all like organic cotton. So basically like you'd order it before your baby gets born. Let's say it comes at the end of the 3 months when you're ready for the next size, you let them know. They send you all the shipping information. So you ship it back. They send you the next size with like at half the cost because you've sent back your other one. And so like that's one way that's so easy for baby stuff. Like you're virtually not, everything's being like totally recycled, which is a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's pause for one second, and then I would love to ask about maybe some practical things now that we're about to get into the holidays here that maybe people can do.
Yeah.
Oh, also, can I plug about cloth diapers? Can I talk about that on the podcast?
No.
I've got info on that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it is the most wonderful time of the year, like we're talking about. But I'm about to tell you what's going to be the most wonderful time for your rear and the rest of your parts. It's MeUndies. MeUndies is a gift for truly everyone, the most comfortable underwear on the planet, and they deliver straight to your door, so you won't have to brave them all during the holiday craze.
By the way, MeUndies are all knit from Lenzing Modal, a naturally soft, breathable, eco-friendly fabric extruded from Austrian beech trees.
Ooh.
By the way, just so you know. Anyway, all of us at the Chatty Broads team are obsessed with them, us, our men's, the little ones, because MeUndies has something for everyone. And speaking of not wanting to leave the house, MeUndies makes the perfect hibernation undies and loungewear. Whether you're looking to match undies with your special someone or just wanting to cuddle up with your cat in a onesie, MeUndies has you covered literally. Their fabric is 3 times softer than cotton and offered in sizes extra small to 4XL. This holiday season, cozy up in their new robes for men and women, treat your feet in their soft new slippers, and of course, match the whole fam with their soft new baby bodysuit. And of course, they have new holiday prints.
I love their new robes, by the way. MeUndies has a great offer for our listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you can get 15% off and free shipping. This is a no-brainer, especially because they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. To get your 15% off your first pair, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction to guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/chatty. That's MeUndies.com/chatty.
I received MeUndies for Christmas last year.
Aren't they so soft?
They're so soft.
I was shocked.
No, I think the first time we got a pair, it was for Evan numerous years ago. And I'm like, well, those are getting stolen. And that's what I was wearing underneath all my dresses.
Do you used underwear or used undergarments?
Do I use them or do
Like,
I
do you
buy
buy
them
them?
used?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, so I don't get used. I like never buy bras. I probably should at some point. So I haven't, since I've been more into sustainability, I haven't had the opportunity. But yeah, I try to buy sustainable underpants. For used underpants, for pickles, actually from the consignment store, they have like barely worn undies. Mm-hmm. A lot of places don't carry them because they think it's weird, but just give them an extra wash and you're good to go. It's the same as like buying tights. Like I get a lot of tights for her at consignment places because
Truth. I actually never thought about it that way because I buy used yoga pants and leggings and like I never wear underwear with those.
Yeah, it's probably the same.
No, never.
What's
and
really
I
the
sweat a lot,
difference?
so
Yeah.
same thing.
So I just wanted to preach for a second about cloth diapers because I think it ties in. I'm not saying you have to go use cloth diapers, but one thing I realized when I started switching is that it was so much easier than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And I think that ties into everything we're talking about because when you start to make little shifts, at first you're like, oh, fuck, my life is about to be taken over by this. And then you're like, oh, like, yeah, this is a little less convenient, but it's not that hard and it's not that different from what I was doing before. Like, why didn't my biggest question to myself was, why didn't I just try this sooner? Like, why didn't I just try?
It's usually the opposite. I feel like people try cloth diapers first and then switch because maybe in the beginning they have more time with their kids. So I was surprised you switched later.
Yeah.
But I actually wore cloth diapers when I was little and my daughter has too. And she has never had a normal diaper. And we have traveled extensively with her. And all you need is a wet bag and don't be afraid to poop. And yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day as I was, so by the way, quick little thing to say about it. I'm going to make a video on it sooner or later, but you have a couple options. You can buy diapers, which you can actually get gently used online too. You don't even have to buy new ones. They have you can look up. Yeah.
So on eBay, I actually bought a massive stock of the traditional old school kind, which is like the square or kind of rectangle from a cloth diaper company that was going out of business. So they were like really well taken care of. And there was like 60 of them, a lot I've never even used. But yeah, that was on eBay, super cheap because they're a little pricey.
Yeah. So you can get those used. And you can either wash them yourself, which I've done both. I've been doing both, or you can get a service, which is pricey, but you can save so much money if you wash them yourself. I'm talking like you spend $100 once and never really have to buy anything again.
I mean, so Ember did not use cloth diapers, and the amount of money that I spent
so much
before she was like potty trained, I was looking through all of my receipts and it's absurd.
It's like at least $100 a month, right?
At least, yeah.
And so so this was like I bought all my diapers for like $100. I bought like the cheapest brand. I didn't get them used because I didn't really think about it. And, but I got ones that are one size that just have different snaps that you can adjust literally from newborn to like 2 years. You never have to buy them again. And people reuse them for kids.
Well, that's the cover, right?
Well, I have all-in-one or pocket ones that have the stuff liners. There's a bunch of different types, but you can start YouTubing it and you can learn about it in like a day. But yeah, I mean, I just want to give people a quick rundown so they're not intimidated by it. If your baby is only breastfed in the beginning, their poop's water soluble, so you can actually like throw it in your washer whole. And for us, we've been doing loads like every 3 days or so, and we just keep a bucket by the washing machine, and like we have a wet bag for when we're on the go. And you just put them in the wet bag, and then like every 3 days you toss them in the washer. I do use bleach because I feel like that's the only way to avoid diaper rash. I haven't found a soap that avoids the diaper rash.
I loved Charlie's laundry detergent.
Okay.
It's great. It's a lot of hippy-dippy people swear by it.
Okay.
When I was first looking up cloth diaper stuff, there's a lot of issues, I feel like, with buildup of detergents and stuff. Mm-hmm. Charlie's does not do that. Okay. A lot of normal laundry detergents, instead of like washing the fibers, they're sort of masking it and putting their scent and their whatever on it, whereas Charlie's like buy the fiber cleans it.
You didn't have any issue with diaper rash with that? Okay. Because we've been using my eco detergent. We started having diaper rash issues in the first couple of weeks, and I started using bleach and it stopped that. So anyway, I'm going to try that out. But you can basically throw them in whole. And then now that Ruth has like more solid poop that she's eating, all I do is I just knock it. I just knock it into the toilet, and then I just throw it in the bucket and just wash it like that. And I was thinking about the other day, I'm like, this is no different than people who pick up their dog's poop with the bag when they're out walking their dog. Like, it's not that big of a difference. I know some people too, if you have a formula fed baby, you can get like a sprayer, or you can just like hand wash it in the sink before throwing it in the bag or the bucket to make sure that
I'm sure there's also like scrapers or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a big deal at all.
And then you wash them every 3 days and throw them in the dryer. Of course, if you don't have your own washer or dryer, that may be a little more of work, but it's like pretty, and that's like it.
Yeah.
So you just, I mean, I haven't found it any more inconvenient than just, I mean, like if you can just literally throw it in the washing machine, boom. And then our service comes every Thursday, and we just have a big reusable bag that's in a bin, and we just put all the diapers for the week. And then we put that bag out on the curb, and then they deliver us new ones the next morning. It's like no brainer.
I found that it also really helps to potty train way earlier. So Cece was out of diapers since she was 1.5 and never had to wear like a nighttime diaper, which I know kids do when they're older, because I feel like normal diapers, you pee and like it absorbs and it's gone, so you like don't really have that same awareness that you peed, whereas cloth diapers, it's like, whoa, I'm wet. And so it's more of like they correlate it quicker
because it doesn't like wick it away. You like feel it, and it's like,
oh, that totally makes
then
sense.
you're like, oh, okay, me peeing, this is what it feels like, I should do toilets. It's like, yeah, they definitely learn earlier.
And again, with the like imperfect thing like we were talking about, I know some daycares don't allow people to do cloth diapers, so maybe even making a choice if you can buy some some used ones for like $20 on the weekends, like, or at night, just even reducing. Maybe if you could even reduce, like if people could just reduce 10 diapers a week, that still is a huge impact. 10 diapers a week, that's like 500 a
even
year.
if it was just at night. Like that would be just such a big, that would be such a big difference.
I mean,
when I'm thinking about everything all the diapers I bought, like just the night ones.
Yeah, every diaper that's ever been bought is still
I started freaking out with Ruth because if you start doing the math, people, that's why even like 1 diaper a day or even 1 diaper a week, like that's 50 less diapers a year. If you multiply it, like let's be conservative and say super conservative and say a baby uses 5 diapers a day. That's extremely conservative. That's still 1,500 a year.
That was fast math.
That was very fast math.
Okay. And I'm shamed for that.
Let's say it's more than that, actually. It's about because I multiplied just 300 by 5. So it's more than that. It's about 1,500 a year. I read on average anywhere between 2,500 to 3,500 diapers a year is normal for a kid. But I was being super conservative, and we're saying 1,500 a year. Multiply that by just a population of 1 million. Just 1 million. That's like, which is the population of like a decently sized city, just one city. Like, I don't even actually really want to do the math because
you're going to give me a little heart palpitation.
Sorry. Times 1,500. I don't even know what this means. 1.5 E9.
I don't know what that is.
No idea what that
means. I think that means 9 zeros. That's a population of only 1 million kids. And when you start, that's only in 1 year with 1 million kids. So if really you as one person, if you can just even reduce your diapers by 50 less a year, that's only 1 a day, much less like 1,500 or 3,500 a year. One person can make a massive impact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's the end of my sermon. Sorry.
Well, can you give us just maybe a few tips for our listeners during this holiday season where they could be a little more sustainable?
Yeah, like with decoration and tree stuff or gift stuff.
Can we talk about trees first? Because we were actually talking about that.
We got a lot of messages about this.
Yeah, I did. I got a lot of good tips, but I'm curious. Yes, with a tree, for instance, what's the better route?
Like how to find a sustainable tree or a plastic tree?
Is it better to go and like to get a real tree? Is it better to get a used?
So I feel like getting real trees is like weirdly demonized.
Because you're cutting down trees.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying I like looked at the lot and I was like, is this sad? I don't know.
Okay, so I would say that like pretty much get a real tree over a plastic tree unless the plastic tree is used. A lot of people, I'm sure, like get their tree from Walmart, use it once, and then donate it or whatever. So you can find used trees out there.
eBay, or if not Goodwill.
Yeah, whatever. Also, you could get like one of those really cute vintage ones or something like aluminum, or I think they were made out of aluminum.
Like I was telling you, you need like an aluminum little one.
So, but with getting a real tree, like everything, I would just like research a bit. Most tree farms are like locally owned, family run businesses. So that's great. And the trees, Christmas trees in particular, are really great at harboring CO2. So they're beneficial. They're also grown in sort of weird rocky land that wouldn't normally grow a lot of other stuff.
Okay.
So, and I think the statistics are something like for every Christmas tree cut down, they plant like 3 or 4 more because they take about 5 years to like reach the average wanted Christmas tree height. So they are beneficial. The thing I would research is the farmers and what they're using, because if they are putting a lot of pesticides on it, that's coming into your home with your kid and your animals, and it's going into our waters. So yes, get the family tree, but make sure it's not full of crap.
And in LA, it's probably, you can look up organic Christmas tree and find that like
I found some close by.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's definitely demonized, but also and being an HSP, I feel like Christmas trees, they need to fulfill their Christmas wish of, being decorated and like being part of the family. So, and also disposing of them. It is I've literally cried over like the day at the 26th, seeing Christmas trees in plastic bags and some tinsel still on them on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. They can be mulched. A lot of you cannot burn them because they can do a built up creosote, which could cause chimney fires. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to burn pine or like evergreen. I think it's all the same. So a lot of cities have mulching festivals or that kind of thing, where then the tree can be mulched and be part of the landscape. I know in my neighborhood in the city, Tompkins Square Park has one like every couple of days after Christmas, and a lot of community gardens and parks have that. So it's getting another life after its Christmas wishes fulfilled.
I love that.
Okay, so what about then? We're talking about, first of all, gifts earlier. So if you're like preferably if you can buy used.
Definitely. Today I was at the Rose Bowl flea market from like 7 a.m. to 12.
Did you have a good time? Was it awesome?
Yeah, it was okay.
I got rained on.
Yeah, I got rained on, which is and I found a bunch of like cute 60s dresses and stuff. I didn't find a lot of gifts, but I can be a little bit funny about flea markets because I grew up in it and now everyone's interested in them, which I love. It's great, but
I think you can get creative with it too. Like when I went to the thrift store the other day, I found all these cute little crystal candle things. I'm like, actually, that could be a really sweet gift for someone, is to get some like beeswax candlesticks and some candle holders and like tie them up with a pretty ribbon. And like that could be a really nice gift for like a mom or an aunt or something.
I would say definitely shop locally.
Okay.
A lot of local stores also work with smaller vendors, so they have less of a carbon footprint, even if it's like maybe not the most sustainable thing. It at least is like on a smaller scale. Also make things. I know a lot of people like poo-poo that, but I could use a jam. Like I don't need some plastic
facial scrub with like sugar and coconut oil or something like that.
Yeah, look stuff up. It's way more thoughtful.
And moms can do that with their kiddos. That's a fun project.
But yeah,
do that for your dumb family members. Sorry, you're not dumb. But I'm just thinking like, make some facial scrubs for all of them. Put them in some mason jars.
I do that. I'm gonna do that. And Ember
Also,
made it.
people be impressed too. They're like, you made these?
I mean, I don't know. Some of them don't. But if I attach my daughter with it,
Yeah.
come
I'll
on.
send you a recipe. You can
you
include a
please do?
picture of you and Ember like making it on the tag. There you go.
That is the cutest idea.
Boom.
So if
I
they
love
say
it.
anything about it, they would sound horrible.
Yeah, seriously.
Ember's going to be like tearing up.
Look at your grandchild, what she
Yeah.
created. Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah, and also experiences or
Yeah.
like, like quality time, like a meal out together, like, silly things. In my family, we do, we spend it with my aunt, and they're insane antique thrifters and everything. So like they always find the most amazing things, and it's all old. But this year we're trying to be like low key with stuff and get smaller things. Like I'm gonna request. I'm like a tiny bit on the spectrum, obviously with my HSP. So I'm requesting like a handmade weighted blanket
Nice.
this year. And that's like, and like a haircut, and that's like my things that I want.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's smart. Gift
It's also
certificates too.
yeah, and
actually.
also asking people like, don't go to Marshall's and like, oh, I think this is my aunt's style. Like, no, like ask them. It's less wasteful, and then they'll like it.
Right.
You know, the surprise doesn't need to necessarily be there. Or if I've done that before, I've gotten surprises and I'll put it in like, say, a gigantic box, and it's a tiny thing. So they're like, don't remember what they told me, or they're still surprised by it in a sense.
Yeah, I'm also just thinking like instead of getting like a gift card to Target, you could get creative. I like thinking of this kind of thing, and you could get like a couple, like let's say cousins who are a couple or something. Not cousins who are, a cousin and their wife or whatever. Not cousins who are a couple. Anyway, you could get them like a couple things of craft beer with a gift certificate to the bowling alley, and be like
That's super cute. Yeah.
kind of like something like that, or.
Also, don't underestimate the power of just cash.
Yeah, true.
Like if you
I
had
live
it,
for that gift, Mom, if you're listening.
just do it.
Gas cards.
Oh, well.
Well, but yeah, no, we need.
We got to
still,
drive
I
cars in
know.
LA,
But yeah,
we don't
just-
need to, but we do.
I do want to say just one quick
Yeah.
thing: Amazon returns, because I'm sure I feel like a lot of people like do Amazon gifts and then attach little return receipts. They do not get returned to Amazon. They get put in these pallets that are then sold off. So it's not like it's harmless
Whoa.
by returning something, because, well, obviously emissions with the shipping, but it also doesn't get like necessarily back on the
I
shelf.
had no idea.
Yeah, they're sold on pallets. And sometimes you can buy the pallet in an auction and resell it. And sometimes it gets trashed if, like, say, even the box you opened it in is not quite right, but the inside is fine. So Amazon returns are not harmless.
Oh, my goodness.
I also am drafting right now a text message to my extended family just saying like, hey, for our family this year, please get us either something used, handmade, or nothing at all. Our feelings won't be hurt. Like, we don't need more.
I include that on CC. Sorry, it's CC and Pickles. same. I include that on her birthday invitations. Like I say, like we encourage use gifts, hand-me-downs, or nothing at all.
You know what? I'm like so inspired right now. I'm gonna text all my family members as soon as we like depart, and just be like, please, like hand-me-downs. Like Ember has so many cousins.
She's not going to know the difference.
Like, it's like,
Yeah, it could be a weight off of them that they don't have to go get something, and it's cheaper. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. What about the last one would be like wrapping paper? Okay.
So most wrapping paper is not recyclable. There's like a plastic film or coating on it. So in my shop, we sell decomposition paper, the decomposition books. They also make wrapping paper. It's fully recycled, and vegetable inks. But what I do mainly for myself is I do newspaper and pretty ribbon.
Because it looks cool.
It looks
like
good.
newspaper, yeah.
I do any kind of newspaper, or I really like the Hindu Times and
I know
like or the
exactly what
Chinese
you're talking
ones.
about. They're cool.
They just like are prettier than English
Or
newspaper.
comic. We used to also do
Or
comic
comics,
pages when I was
and then
little,
I do
which
a
was fun.
silk dyed ribbon just because I have that in my store. But any ribbon would be cool.
Also, you can do, I've done this a lot when I was broke in college. Like if you have Trader Joe's bags, cut them up and like the inside of them is blank. So you can wrap them so they can just look like plain brown wrapping paper.
I feel like now even they make some that are meant to be gift wrap. Like I feel like last year I saw that where it was like cut here and
Wow.
Yeah. Also fabric. what is it called? I can't think of it. It's like a Japanese word for is like the art of wrapping things in fabric. I want to tell you, it's like furoshiki or something, maybe. Anyway,
so that fabric that we were talking about earlier, the stuff that like you can't be worn again, you can wash that and wrap. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Or if you have a tote bag, canvas tote bag you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
You have a ton of them. I have so many canvas tote bags. I think they're mostly from you, Sierra. I have like 5 tote bags. But you could wash that and wrap a gift in that with a cute ribbon.
Well, that's super helpful.
Oh, and Sierra has cards that are made with plantable. They're plantable. They have seeds in them.
yes, it's a recycled paper pulp, and the paper is embedded with wildflower seeds, so you can plant it.
That's gorgeous. That's a gorgeous gift. My
Thank you.
goodness.
Anyway,
Well, thank you so much, honestly. And I know that, like, you know, Becca, you're very knowledgeable about this. And I feel like
I'm telling you, I just on the past few months started getting really anxious and like anal about some of this stuff.
I have heard Becca recommend Amazon a bunch of times.
the arms crossed. But seriously, like, thank you so much, because I like, again, someone like me who knows, like, it's overwhelming, the idea of, you know, hearing some of these big numbers, but I so appreciate like all of these tips today from both of you, these practical tips where I'm like, okay, like now I know, you know what? I thankfully haven't started my Christmas shopping. I thought I was behind, but now there's practical things that I can do just to like start off the holiday right. And it's not, those don't sound overwhelming to me at all.
Yeah. Or just like start with the coffee cup.
Yeah.
Like, just bring your cup.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
Thank you so
Thanks so much, Sierra.
much.
for having
And then you were talking about that there you have not cheat tips for our listeners.
Oh no, I put together like a low waste essentials guide. So
Amazing.
Yeah, it had links to the low waste items in your store as well as like tips. all
just
in
like
one.
super little things. Like we now carry a biodegradable silk floss and bamboo toothbrushes, a charcoal water filter. Super simple things, even stuff which, I didn't link this, but I should. Reef safe sunblock. So a lot of people don't realize sunblock pollutes the waters.
Yeah.
If you notice, like it comes off of you and it goes somewhere. And so we have one that is made in the Rockaways in Brooklyn, and it is reef and ocean safe.
Amazing.
Remember I had that Reef Safe foundation too that was tinted?
Yeah.
Love. And it comes in a little tin too.
So we will link all of this in our episode notes. And where can our listeners find you social media wise?
So we have an Instagram, which is just at Lovewild Design, I think. And I post lots of little like recipes, like ways to avoid. I buy a lot of like fake meat stuff. So like seitan, way to make your own seitan and stuff and things like that. It'll be like recipes and then stuff in our shop and just different alternatives, and my daughter.
Amazing.
One step at a time, everybody.
One step at a time. And I don't know, I think it's just a beautiful sentiment to like start the holidays off with too. Just think about, you made a few statements today that it was like there is just so much excess, and I'm thinking about, as we're having this conversation, like there's so much that I don't need. And it's just kind of a beautiful way to get into the holidays.
Me
Of like
too.
enjoy the people and the experiences, like you were saying, and
I'm feeling rejuvenated and inspired.
Me too.
And just a note for those that like are interested in starting this is like, you don't have to do it alone. Like involve your family, involve like, so Cece, my daughter, part of the thing to get her involved is we go to the grocery store and I'm like, you can pick out anything, but not in plastic. And then she'll like run around and like ask questions and ask the salespeople and like find that special thing, but she knows why we don't want it in plastic. And she also, I don't feel like I'm depriving her, because like, I'm like, get anything, but just make sure it's not plastic. And
amazing.
So, yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
And broads, let's be
Yes.
sustainable.
Hashtag sustainable broads. Sustainability broads.
Chat soon, broads.
Bye.